Hello, my name is Henry E. Davis. I am a candidate for the office of Governor of Florida in the 2018 election. The primary elections will be held during the summer of 2018. The election for Governor of Florida will be held on November 6, 2018. I am a retired Florida Circuit Court judge. I retired on January 2, 2017 after serving almost 25 years as a Florida Circuit Court judge. I am a lifelong resident of Jacksonville, Florida. The circumstances surrounding my birth in 1948 in Jacksonville are important. My oldest known African ancestor told of being captured in Africa at the age of 14 by foreigners who were riding horses. He and other Africans were brought to Florida and enslaved. He never experienced freedom after the age of 14. He lived, worked, and died in Florida as a slave. My ancestors' tragedy was experienced by millions of Africans. The American and Florida institutions of African slavery created almost all of the major social and economic problems that exist in America and Florida today. Other candidates for public office either are unaware of the impact of slavery on America and Florida today, or they choose to ignore its impact and issues of race in America and Florida. If elected governor of Florida in 2018, issues of race and our history of African slavery and subsequent treatment of Africans of African descent will be factored into all policies. I would like to share some of my background with you. I graduated from a segregated all-black public high school in 1966. I graduated from a public Florida community college in 1968. I graduated from a public Florida university in 1970. I worked and earned money while in high school and college. I graduated from the Florida State University College of Law in 1976. I was admitted to the Florida Bar in 1976. I served in the United States Navy from 1970 through 1973. I worked as an attorney for the United States Department of Justice in Washington, D.C. for 4 years. I was engaged in the private practice of law in Jacksonville for 12 years. I began serving as a Florida Circuit Court judge in 1992 when I was appointed to that office by the late Governor Lawton Childs. I retired on January 2nd, 2017. During my judicial career, I served in all of the divisions of the Circuit Court. I served 10 years in the Adult Felony Court Division. I served the last 10 years of my judicial career in the Juvenile Delinquency Court Division and the Dependency or Child Welfare Court Division. Documents that provide more details regarding my life and career are available on this website. My reasons for running for governor in 2018 are as follows. While serving in the Juvenile Delinquency Court Division, I promised many parents and children who had been victims of school violence that I would work towards making schools safer upon my retirement. I intend to keep that promise. Other candidates who run will not have my unique perspective on life in Florida and America. It is not likely that any other candidate will have experienced the poverty and discrimination that I experienced. I was born into a very poor family. My first homes lacked plumbing and electricity. Money and food often were scarce. My homes lacked adequate heating and cooling. Poor children who are willing to work and behave can overcome poverty, but they need assistance. Our state government does not provide adequate assistance to poor people who live in Florida. Poor children cannot provide adequate housing for themselves. Poor children cannot provide adequate medical care for themselves. Poor children cannot provide adequate mental health treatment for themselves. Poor children cannot protect themselves from criminals and other dangerous people. Poor children cannot provide safe and civilized schools for themselves. Poor children and poor babies cannot support themselves. Children who are born into poverty often grow up to be violent and unproductive teenagers and adults. It is very easy for elected officials and others who are financially secure to ignore the needs of poor people. Poor people do not vote. Poor people do not contribute to political parties. Poor people do not provide money to support campaigns. Everyone has an interest in making Florida a better and safer place. I believe very strongly in personal responsibility. I believe the words of the late President John F. Kennedy when he said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country." The state of Florida and America have an obligation to help those who are unable to provide for their basic needs. The state of Florida and the taxpayers of the state of Florida must not be required or expected to support adults who choose not to work and learn and provide for their basic needs. I learned while I was a young child not to rely on others to provide me with what I needed or wanted. One area of special concern to me is the responsibility of parents for their children. Parents, both mothers and fathers, are responsible for their children. I served as a juvenile delinquency court judge and as a dependency court or child welfare court judge for 10 years. More than 80% of the defendants in those courts were black males and black females. Very few of those defendants had been raised by their parents in stable homes and in safe communities. Children must be taught the responsibilities of being a parent before they begin to have children. Parents should not have more children than they can afford to raise and spend time with. We need to immediately improve the level of education of all Florida residents. We must immediately make special efforts to dramatically improve the level of education of all Florida residents. Those Florida residents who do not desire to devote time and effort to education must not be allowed to hinder those who do. The jobs and careers and businesses of today and into the future require a well-educated workforce. Florida children who are assigned to low-performing public schools and public schools with chronic disciplinary problems will not be prepared for higher education or productive employment. Florida children must be given the option to find and attend schools of their choice. Poor children must be able to combine employment and school. There is lawful work available throughout Florida for most people who are willing and able to work. Poor children must be allowed to both attend school and work at lawful employment while they are teenagers. Proper job training programs must be maintained and created throughout Florida. Criminal histories must not be a bar to all lawful employment. People who require job training should be paid while undergoing job training. Also, we must work to eliminate high crime areas. The laws of Florida recognize residential areas in which large numbers of violent crimes and other crimes are committed as high crime areas. There are high crime areas in many counties in Florida. The original high crime areas were slave plantations and any place where large numbers of Black Americans were forced to live and work. Today's high crime areas are occupied almost exclusively by Black Americans. Our elected public officials allow high crime areas to exist. Behaviors that are tolerated in high crime areas are not tolerated elsewhere. The perception appears to be that high crime rates are inevitable in areas where large numbers of Black Americans live and congregate. People who commit crimes in high crime areas also commit crimes outside of high crime areas. Increased and expensive law enforcement efforts, combined with other community efforts, could reduce or eliminate high crime areas. Children who live in high crime areas engage in the behaviors that they learn in their homes and communities when they attend school. Children who are raised in high crime areas are more likely to have arrest records and serve time in jail and prison. All children and adults living in Florida deserve safe neighborhoods and schools. We must work together to create safe neighborhoods throughout the state of Florida. The quality of life for all Floridians depends on Florida being a safe place for everyone to live. Also, the revision of our criminal justice system and laws is required. The Florida criminal justice laws are too complicated. Our laws can be interpreted and applied so as to create almost any outcome that anyone desires. This allows for the unfair and arbitrary enforcement of our criminal laws. The laws of the state of Florida regarding crimes in Florida must be entirely rewritten. Input must be received from individuals and organizations other than elected officials. Again, school options must be expanded. The primary goal of any school is to prepare children to live in their society. Different children require different types of learning opportunities and learning environments. Many children are not receiving training and education at home and in their communities. Many children live in homes where no one reads or writes or speaks standard American English. Parents and children must be offered a wide variety of options as to the education. Either full-time or part-time should be allowed to do so. School safety and quality must be the #1 priority at any school. Also, we must not continue to elect candidates based solely on their wealth. People who are not wealthy or financially secure must not continue to elect people who are. People who are wealthy and financially secure do not face the problems that working people and poor people face. People who are financially secure do not send their children to the public schools that poor children must attend. Working people and poor people must elect candidates such as myself who have been poor and have worked hard and long in order to have a better life. People who wish to preserve our democracy must not continue to allow elections to be decided based on wealth. We must not have our democracy for sale to the highest bidder. I have been advised to forego this campaign and to enjoy my retirement. President Abraham Lincoln and Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. and many, many others could have considered only their personal best interests and not been concerned with others. America and the world is a better place due to their sacrifices. I benefited tremendously from the sacrifices of others. I am available and willing to help others to learn to live better lives. I do not have a personal agenda or desire to gain anything by serving as governor of Florida. I will not pursue any other elected office. I have mentioned only a few of my positions on a few of the serious issues confronting Florida and America. Our social issues at this point in our history are at a crisis level. Many people live in areas and in neighborhoods that our elected officials would not visit. They would not drive through the neighborhoods even. They certainly would not allow their children to live in certain neighborhoods in Florida, and they would not allow their children to attend school with certain children in Florida. We must not continue to allow the people who are occupying our public offices today to continue to promote their own personal agendas. I ask that you read the documents on my website at www.henryedavis.com. Also, I ask for your financial support. I ask that you read the documents that are available on this website. If you wish to assist me in pursuing the course of action that I propose, I ask for your financial support. And I ask that you contact others throughout the state of Florida and ask that they too support the campaign. I cannot pursue this campaign without adequate financial backing. If the people of Florida continue to elect the same people, and if the people of Florida continue to elect people based on their wealth, then the people of Florida must expect to continue to live under a Florida government that is concerned only with the best interests of the wealthy. I urge you to make a change. I urge you to support this campaign. Thank you.